Welcome back, Crypt Keepers. All right, just one piece of news in this one. It's a call out from regulators asking the crypto space to self-police, to take some accountability and show some responsibility. It's something that we've been talking about a lot on this show. And if you've seen recently, there's been a public back and forth between Bitboy and Bankman Fried. Not gonna really get into that topic, but I'd like to say though, I appreciate both sides. And I think they're both doing what they believe to be the best for crypto. Drop a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. All right, let's get it started. As a continuation about looking at where we are in cycles and how to identify your location in a cycle. The longest running intervals by month on Detrend Price have run us 12 months from here, 2014 to 2015, and 15 months from here, 2017 to 2019. The next highest would be about 8 months between 2019 and 2020. Currently, we are running the next longest interval at about 11 months now. From 2021 November to now October 2022. So we are about to fall in that historically trended interval between 12 and 15 months on the longest intervals under Centerline on the Detrend Price Oscillator. So this is a harmonic readout based on intervals and days. Harmonics would run price points at 40s and factors of 40, so 40, 80, 120. A lot like a music processor, which will harmonize pitches by beats per second. This is doing the same thing with intervals of days. It's giving me, at least what I created here, a pattern that I can read. And this is a pattern that I created, but I think that patterns are very decipherable. And I think what this is showing is that the price movement on Bitcoin is not exactly random. And what I'm saying is that I'm not saying that it's manipulated, not exactly anyway, but it's not manipulated in the way where it's totally controlled. I'm saying that it's following a natural pattern. And I think that we're coming to the end of this. We're going to see a resolution. And what I think is delineated here is that when you see here, we had a period beginning in 2019 and ending somewhere at the top of this peak here in November 2021, where all these intervals occurred at about 555 intervals. If you divide that by 40, they all give us about just under 14 points. Prior to the start of this trending pattern at 555 intervals, we had something closer to 600, which gave us a point mark at closer to 15 points. So this was an outlier on this more decipherable pattern. So you could say then that the pattern is almost invalidated. However, that would be the case, yet we are beginning to show some signs of a deviation from this pattern that we've been seeing. And we've had a mark here ending this 3-run stretch of 555 at 565 intervals. If I marked here from the very start of this peak here, that brought us to an interval of 30, which is nearly double the total point readout here. So we're still following some kind of trend. If I were to add another 13 points here, that would give us 43 points. Just over about 40, this would give us about 44 points, just over our harmonic readout of 40 total points. This oscillator is giving me some sign, in my opinion, that we are starting a new trend here. All right, shorter time frame on Bitcoin, the 1 hour, getting a downside breakout readout at nearly 50% to the downside. Total price readout though, giving us a top side at 19,050. Our profitability, little weak. So I'm looking at dispersion based on our previous quartiles. We're in the 3rd quartile right now at the top of the hour. So I believe that this volume bar will fail, but looking at behavior, we have a top side readout yet on Elliot. So we could see a little bit in the immediate term, a little bit more downside action, probably bringing us back closer to 19,000 even. And then we can see a move up on behavior. I drew this chicken foot out to delineate what I think is going to happen in the next week or so. I'm not saying 2 to 5 days on this one because I think it's going to actually occur more in the mid of November. But I do think that we're going to start to see a challenge of this price, this previous low at 18,000 and the last lowest low at 17,700 about. I think in the next month or so, we're going to start challenging those marks. That being said, we're going to probably hit the bottom of this trend in the next few days at 18,900. If we break below it, we're going to be in the bottom third of this speed fan, which will start bringing us closer to 18,800 mark. If we break through this, we're likely to see an immediate move down. I'm not going to call how low just yet, not getting a clear readout on that. However, I do expect this to happen in the next 2 to 5 days. I think that 18,800 is still highly, highly likely. Although we're going to probably bounce off of that immediately and take us back to the upper 19,100 mark. And we could likely form an initial balance, a new initial balance there between 19,000, which would be our previous trend line, and our previous support zone, 19,000. And bottom side of that would be 18,700. We are coming up on a resolution to the longer term trend in crypto, but we still have to get through this portion of the process. I'm not a big fan of processes, but we got to pass through it. So if we hit the wall here, we drop down. Typically, this is typical though. I'm not saying this is an actual thing. Because based on other coins, usually when we eat into the first wave, I've seen a trend that when we hit, in crypto at least, when we hit into the first wave, we typically eat about 40% totally. If we need a true resolution on Elliott corrective side C, 40% into the first wave typically. But this is mainly based off of other somewhat meme-ish coins that do see extreme peaks and altcoins. So right now we're currently just under 8% into the first wave, and that's only wicking. So if we go 40% deep, that's 11,700 into the first wave on Bitcoin. I don't think that we're going to go that low, but that's what that's telling me here. Solana. All right, so took a nosedive just as we thought, but a little bit later than I thought. But we are currently at $27. I do think that Solana has some more downtrend price. I was looking for something closer to $25 at the start of September, but we are here experiencing this in the middle of October. Based on our deviations here and our total price readout, which is giving us a mark. Top side 28.20, bottom side 27.47. Our current volume bar, fourth quartile. We've been seeing a lot of activity, but no result. Total volume price, I think, still weighing to the downside. Profitability is really weak on Solana and overall. Synchronicity weighing to the sell side. Very low volatility, actually, even though we have a strong price move down. I think we're going to actually challenge this $26.99, $27 mark that we set some time ago. I'd expect to probably bounce off of this or hit this 27 mark in the next 2 days. But most likely sooner than that. If we're going to break through the bottom of this, we are likely forming a new initial balance at $25 and can likely see a bottom side of this channel at 24.20. So new range between 24.20 and top side $27. Pretty wide range, so I don't think that we're going to stay in this channel for very long, but that's the readout that I'm getting on based on dispersions and based on behavior for the next 2 to 5 days for Solana. Ethereum, pivot reversal strategy working really well for Ethereum. It can't say the same for the rest of the crypto market, and you can kind of see why here. So we're getting a lot of historical trends based on divergences. Our quartiles are weighing pretty heavy to the upside, but we don't have a lot of volatility, and I think that our previous support zone from several months back at 13.15 is back in play, and we can stretch the bottom side of this current range here out, and we'll likely bounce between 1260 and 1315 for the next 2 to 5 days. However, with the weakness coming with Bitcoin, you can expect some volatility to start happening with Ethereum, which would be good for price change on trades, but your profitability, your indicator likelihood is going to decrease based on the weighted volatility. So bottom side, worst case scenario, bottom side trend for Ethereum would squeeze our range between 1182 and 1222. But more likely range for the next 2 to 5 days, again, between 1260 and 1315. Luna Classic. So we touched down at 23 as we were looking for, and even broke through the bottom part of our top side of that resistance at 23, taking us to the lower part in 23. So I'll drop it down for us for that moment. But I don't think that it changed the initial balance. What we need to do to change the initial balance, as mentioned before, is hit the 21 mark. So if we hit the 21 mark, mid 21, we're highly likely to break down to the bottom of this. But Luna Classic is staying very, very healthy social media wise. Community is still strong. And we got some signs of bullishness for what's to come with Luna Classic. But I think everybody's waiting for actual results. So we have a lot of rumor about development, but we're not seeing anything yet. So keep that in mind though. Luna Classic is different from other low caps. And I still strongly believe that people will be reacting to Luna Classic the way they did with SHIB, and that everybody's saying it's nothing, it's nonsense, and then all of a sudden they're buying it. The people who were downing it were the people who turned around and started buying it. If you're fixated on the burn and what the burn is doing or not doing, you know, that's what you're probably misunderstanding the situation with Luna Classic. Most of crypto is about the story. We're seeing fruits of it on the development side. It possibly has a development team more than just the community and the story. Pretty interesting range here. Our total price readouts giving us a range between 23.9 and 23.3. It's super tight. We fell out of this diagonal here, which was reading out in the middle. So no clear indication. Our profitability pretty weak at 48%. Deviations fairly strong though, and that's probably only likely because we've been in a strong downward trend. So giving us a kind of a fake volatility readout on price range. But machine learner is telling us downside, and I think this is reading out true here. So we are highly likely to challenge this 21 mark in the next 2 to 5 days. However, again, with Luna Classic, a lot of social media presence, a lot of hype, and it's not going to take very much based on synchronicity to swing this price pretty quickly. So conservatively saying 21, but it is highly likely based on the metrics. 23, we could trend along and squeeze right into this super tight channel here for the next 2 days. If we can't break, if we're giving ourselves a breakout level, top side is 25.4. So we need to hit 25.4 in order to start seeing more likelihood of upwards and not challenging the 21 mark. If we challenge that 21 mark, it's looking like we could get some super juicy prices below 21. And bottom side of that is the obvious 18 to 17 mark. I'm not going to mark that out yet because it's not clear. Case in question, how strongly is Bitcoin price correlated to the S&P? We looked at DJI and what DJI has done alongside Bitcoin against the DXY. So we saw that when DXY more often than not, when DXY goes up, DJI and BTC go down together. So DJI and BTC are pretty heavily correlated in price, or at least movement. But what about S&P 500 and Bitcoin? Let's take a look. So this is just going to be a topical view for now. I'll start it off that way, but I'll probably continue the thought in later videos. So just eyeballing, we'll look at it. So price coming down right here on Bitcoin, starting from this peak, where was a bottom side peak actually, if you see on the right for S&P. So you see some move up while Bitcoin coming down. But we have a clear delineation here on correlation between S&P and Bitcoin to the short-term downside there. Then both trending up for a bit. S&P continues while Bitcoin stagnates, and then both head down. Then Bitcoin runs sideways while S&P returns, and they both peak out here and more or less fall throughout this period. And you see some correlation here on minor price action, minor interval price action here on the totality of this map. Bitcoin falls, so does S&P. Bitcoin runs sideways and falls a little, while S&P begins to start a strong rally up. Bitcoin continues to trend and fall while S&P returns. Bitcoin returns, S&P and Bitcoin peak together. And this is likely around the COVID area. So here's where we see now pretty clear correlation in price. We're not just experiencing it in short intervals. We see a clear correlation here in this trend. where they both more or less end the same and start a new trend at the same time. Bitcoin going up, S&P experiencing some trade, Bitcoin experiencing some trade, and they both go up. Bitcoin peaking, S&P continues to rise. First peak ending for Bitcoin, and we see some volatility downside. Finishes sell-off market for Bitcoin, and we ride it up again while S&P takes a dive. We have another correlation on a fairly large interval here between Bitcoin and S&P, and then top off the second peak here on both sides for Bitcoin. But S&P continues its run up, more or less trading, and then we see corrective side on Bitcoin starts to occur, arguably ending the first wave here, while S&P continues its corrective side, arguably ending a first peak here for S&P, and then Bitcoin as well. Another lower peak for Bitcoin, another lower peak for S&P. They rise up on a clear correlation here, a 5-wave up here for Bitcoin, and more downside now for both sides, bringing us to today, a total value closing on S&P at 2 billion, just over 2.5 billion. Bitcoin trading volume around 300 billion for Bitcoin today at S&P's close. So based on the chart, there are periods of correlation, but more or less what it looks like to me is that whatever is running the S&P is also swinging Bitcoin. So it looks like these prices are swinging, and it looks like the first entry is S&P, the second entry is Bitcoin. And I can see trends here where when Bitcoin first dips, S&P runs up, and then you experience another run up followed by Bitcoin. Then you have a sell-off occurrence here on Bitcoin, and then S&P runs, and then they both sell off together. Total run up here, you have a sell-off on Bitcoin, but S&P runs up. Sell off again for both. So all these peaks here, so when we have upside, the peaks and troughs are correlated more or less. Major sell-off on Bitcoin, and you have a nice strong run up on trend on S&P. Again here, a return for Bitcoin, and then a sell-off for both. And then you have extended peak here for S&P while you had a massive sell-off for Bitcoin. So it looks like yeah, strongly correlated, and S&P is occurring first. So you can interpret that how you want, but I'm seeing something, and it's telling me, that clearly profits are being taken out of Bitcoin to be put into more traditional areas. And without reading too much into that, it's likely that cryptocurrency is a trading market. So traders are going to come in to Bitcoin because you can trade on it, and they're more experienced, and some of their assets are older in the traditional side. So they're going to put those profits back into those things. Eventually, as crypto market matures, more of this volume will stay in the crypto market. And so I wanted to couple this with the Solactive CMC Crypto 200. And I think from the CMC 200, you get a really interesting readout, and it reads the top 50 cryptos on market cap as a benchmark for the index. We see here on this portfolio some really interesting stats. You can visit on portfolioslab.com. So here it's comparing the GSPC, the S&P 500 index, and the crypto market 200 index. According to the volatility, which gives us max drawdowns, which gives us total price readouts on averages, on highs and lows, you can see a clear correlation between the two. Looking at the asset matrix here, this is really close to -1, and this is really close to +1. Closer this number gets to -1 or 1 on the red means it's highly correlated or 1-to-1 correlation. The closer this number gets on the plus side, or +1, or just 1 in this case, the higher the correlation is. And this is really close. So 1 to 1 again is perfectly correlated. So this is showing that there is a strong correlation. However, based on the chart and based on this number matrix, it's not exactly super clear as to why the correlation is happening. All right, last one. Sam Bankman Fried experiencing a lot of back and forth with Bitboy on Twitter. And in one side, Bitboy is claiming that Sam Bankman is, you know, a puppet he's bought, and he's trying to bring in the regime into crypto to take it over, essentially. And Sam Bankman Fried is not exactly attacking Bitboy in the same way, but he is defending himself, and he is saying that that's not at all what he's doing. And I thought this was absolutely excellent of Sam Bankman Fried to produce this regulation draft. And what he says here is that he's confident that this is a structure that is not exactly correct, and it's just a draft, right? This is just a crypto leader in the crypto space giving his opinion on if regulation were to enter the market. This is the steps that he'd like to see it take, and what he'd like to see from it. And I think that this is excellent. This is absolutely excellent, because this is constructive. And I'm not saying that regulation is inevitable or anything like that, and I'm not trying to grease the wheels or facilitate that kind of quote unquote takeover. However, crypto market wouldn't exist without already existing markets, already existing money. And you know, it's like the chicken or the egg. You want the chicken or the egg first. I mean, so that's not to sound like it's hopeless or anything like that, or it's a give up sort of circumstance, or it's just, again, inevitable. No, not at all. Of course we want a decentralized space. I got into crypto because I didn't believe in that previous system, and I don't like it. But, you know, crypto is kind of like, you know, I have a love for crypto too. So it's kind of like sending your child out to school. It's bittersweet, but you know, it's a fact of life, and they have to experience the world. And crypto has to experience the world. And I don't think that crypto is just going to experience the world. I'm one of, you know, it's in my Twitter bio. Crypto is intergalactic. Crypto will experience the galaxy. So that's why I said that I can appreciate both sides, because I think that they're both doing what they believe is best for crypto. And I think that we need opposing opinions. That's absolutely necessary. And I like it. I don't really necessarily, I'm not saying that I like the fighting. Don't like that. I don't like that, right? But I like the passion, and I like the endeavor, the goal to make it better and keep it good. So I like that. And that's why I appreciate both sides. Bitboy is Sam Bankman Fried and Bitboy are both perfect examples of the success that you can have from crypto. They're the walking epitome of the opportunity that crypto can provide you from any walk of life. So this is excellent from Sam Bankman Fried. I enjoyed this read. This was really good. And I agree. It's like probably just a draft, but it's super simple and easy and short to read. So this is exactly what you want to see from leaders in the space, presenting their ideas in a firm and clear way. All right. That being said, love to continue to grow my show so I can get you guys live charts. And yeah, it'll be a lot of fun to do live charts for you guys on YouTube. But anyway, trade safe, have fun, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.